Okay, so welcome to Staying Fit Through the Holidays. Before I share my screen, I just have to tell you guys that when I was, I've given this workshop before, obviously, it's kind of a once a year thing because the holidays come around once a year. And for some people, it's a 6-week long adventure. And this year was really different. So it was interesting and fun to look at the different things that I was going to talk about. There are opportunities for discussion. Everybody is muted during this, but if you want to talk, you can unmute yourself and say something. You can put something in the chat. You can wave your hand. I will try to make sure I can see you. Sometimes when I share my screen, I can't, but Erica and Marianne could always alert me if you have questions. So this is meant to be a discussion, so I do invite your comments and questions. So I'm going to share my screen. I did practice this, so we'll see if it actually works. All right, Erica, can you tell me, are you just seeing the PowerPoint? You're not seeing my notes, are you?
No, just the PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you, Erica, appreciate it. Okay, so staying active through the holidays. And on this, I put resist temptation to put your fitness and health off until the new year. There's a lot of times, I think, traditionally, the idea is, okay, Thanksgiving has happened, and now with reckless abandon, I'm going to eat and drink however I would like until the new year, and then I'll just get back on the wagon then. Not realizing that that's 5 to 6 weeks down the road, and 5 to 6 weeks is a long time. Just a little bit about myself, not a lot. I feel like I know most of you. I'm a health educator here with Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services, and I've only been here about 1.5 years, and it's been a really odd 1.5 years. I feel like I've learned a ton about health education in lots of different settings. I'm certified in the evidence-based programs that we offer here, some of the ones that we offer through the health promotion team, which I'm involved with the Enhanced Fitness, Walk with Ease, and Arthritis Foundation exercise program, which I know many of you are involved with. And I'm currently involved with I'm currently getting a certification, which I'm really enjoying because it's really talking about kind of taking the gloves off when dealing with the older adults and exercise, which means not looking at the older adult as this thing that we might break, but looking at the older adult as if they're actually human and able to withstand regular fitness, not only in practice, but also in expectations. So you might see that change in different things that I'm presenting. So as I was mentioning at the very beginning, this year is different. I was using some old notes that I had just to kind of, give me an idea of what I wanted to say. And so many of them just didn't apply this year because of COVID, many of us, and I know many of you guys on this call have already done a lot of the things that we suggest that you do during the holidays, when your gyms are closed or when the senior centers are closed or when the weather starts to get nasty and you're inside, right? But COVID's already helped us with all of this. So if many of you, and again, I would say most of you in this call are already being creative with how you're going to keep your fitness while you're stuck inside, while you don't have the opportunity to go in person to the senior centers or to the recreation centers, which is great. So I didn't feel like I needed to spend a ton of time on that aspect. We are going to hit it a little bit. A lot of us are not traveling this year for holidays. Many of us didn't travel for Thanksgiving. So we weren't in the same situation of going over to somebody's house. So for example, my stepmother is the one who does Thanksgiving in our family, and she cooks a pie per person. And I'm not exaggerating, for like 8 people, there's a 30-pound turkey and 8 pies. And she's a really, really good cook and a really good baker. So God forbid any of those go not eaten, right? And so I feel fairly sick after leaving. I didn't have to worry about that this year. I was completely in control of my food because I was at home, as I'm sure was the case with many of you. So anyway, I want to talk about this right here, which is I've talked about the snowball effect throughout much of my career. There's a lot of the quest for health and fitness, I think, can be summed up in the snowball effect. And all of us have been on each side of this diagram that I have here. So I don't want to get into the specifics of what they're talking about, like with the Sisyphus effect and the snowball effect. I'm dumbing it down to my level, which is basically we're either catching a snowball that's coming at us and having to reverse that momentum and go in a different direction. And a better put is we have a habit that we want to change. And to change that habit, many times we have to decelerate the forward motion of that habit, stop it, and accelerate it in the opposite direction. And so on and off throughout our lives, we're going to be on either side of this snowball effect. Let's say that we get sick. Well, and you know, not major sick, you get sick and you're out for 3 or 4 days. Maybe you're a little bit on the uphill side. Maybe you travel for 2 weeks and you don't get in the exercise that you want, and you definitely don't eat the way you want. Again, you're kind of on that uphill side. And then there's periods of time when it just feels like everything is moving and going the way we want it. And it truly is, I don't want to say effortless, but there's a lot less effort needed to keep that general direction. And the reason that I point this out is because I really want you to think about, where are you on this? And there's no judgment at all. The idea is, once you know where you are, then you can start to mentally prepare for what's ahead of you. And I think that the holidays, especially this year, I'm just going to turn this on. Sorry, guys. It's getting chilly in my room. The holidays are a great time to really start to think about, where am I in my fitness routine? Because again, it's really easy to be like, well, it's the holidays, New Year's is coming, so I don't have to worry about it. So why value your health and fitness through the holidays or the winter months? So, you know, if there are no holidays on the horizon for you in the next 4 weeks, let's talk about winter. Let's talk about getting colder. Salt Lake City, as far as winter goes, it's not nearly as bad as Chicago, where I live. I mean, even today, where it's super cold, it's still beautiful outside. You can still get outside if you want. But there are those times when we have ice or we do have nasty weather and you don't want to go outside. I don't want to go outside. It's not safe to. So either way, whether it's holidays or winter months. So I have 2 little scenarios here. The top one is the person that's on that downhill side of the snowball effect. The reason that you want to keep up with your health and fitness routine now is because you feel good, right? Why change that? Why do something voluntarily to change your good health? You know, if something enters your life that's out of your control, that's one thing. But there are definitely, I see it. You know, people get into the it's the holidays. I know I'm going to overeat. I know I'm going to eat a whole bunch of crap, and I'm just going to give into it. And I always think, why? Why are you going to do that? Most likely, you've worked really hard to create these new habits, and they are new habits. So why change that? You know, the ball is rolling downhill. All you got to do is you know, kind of push it every once in a while to keep it going. We don't need to lose momentum, and especially now with COVID. And, you know, honestly, COVID has brought this to the surface for all of us, but I've always been aware of how being healthy helps me either not get sick, or when I get sick, it not be as bad. And so all this is putting that exclamation on that sentence. If you're on the other side, you're that person who's pushing that ball up the hill. You don't feel great. Your health and fitness isn't great, but why are you going to wait till 2021 to change that? You know, no time like the present. That ball is going to get further up that hill if you start now than if you start in 6 weeks. And in fact, the ball is going to roll further back down the hill if you wait for 6 weeks. Again, that no time like the present. And also, you know, one of the stereotypes or ageism things that I think that I'm fighting against a lot, not necessarily with older adults, but sometimes, is that, you know, I'm becoming unhealthy. It's part of aging. It's just part of the deal. I've never been fit, or I've never worked out. I'm 75. I can't start now. And all of that is incredibly untrue. Study after study after study shows us that it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how frail you may have become, your body is capable of building muscle and of building fitness. So you're not at a point where you shouldn't be able to see the light at the end of that tunnel. So maintaining our movement, exercise, this is kind of what I was talking about. This is usually when I would spend a lot of time during a presentation like this on introducing people to different ways to exercise. But again, most of you are already doing this. You're already on not only the Salt Lake County YouTube channel, but maybe some other YouTube channels out there. I mean, of course, I'm going to promote Salt Lake County because we're awesome, but there are a lot of awesome YouTube channels. Yeah, I know. Thank you, Allison. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there that are really, really good. And guess what? You don't have to only go to one that is for older adults. You know, and this is where I'm starting to get a little bit more pushy, which is very unlike me. I asked my husband. I'm not pushy at all. My mom says I'm decisive. That's a better way of saying it. You can benefit from a lot of different exercise. So please, you know, as you're looking through the different videos, you don't have to only stop on videos that say for the older adult. That's not necessarily true, but you do need to find ones that are safe, obviously. You have online classes. The Virtual Senior Center here at Salt Lake County has some wonderful online classes starting back in January. The University of Utah will be offering more. Health Promotion is offering more and more and more. We're getting cleared to offer more of our evidence-based programs, which is excellent. We're super excited about that. So, you know, even more bigger, better things coming in the new year. But there's other places that have offerings to you. Live offerings, like a lot of the gyms around town, a lot of the rec centers, they have things online for you, live classes. They are usually cost money, whereas the senior center, what we offer is free, you know. But, you know, nothing wrong with investing a little money in your health and fitness. There's also outdoor workouts. I don't know if any of you have thought to take advantage of that. I know that it's getting cold now. I live next to a park, and once a week when I'm walking my dogs, there's a Zumba class in the parking lot. And I just think, oh, that looks like so much fun. They're looking at this beautiful mountain. They're outside. They're dancing. So there's some really interesting outdoor workouts. Once spring comes back around, you know, that's an option for you. I know that that's not right now. That's not winter months, but I did want to mention those. Obviously, walking outside, walking inside. Walking inside is one of those things that I think sometimes people don't think of as exercise. We're actually offering a Walk with Ease starting in the middle of December. That is talking specifically about that, how to develop an indoor walking program. You know, you need to move your body. You can't get outside. That's okay. You have a track in your own home, up and down the hall. So that's something for you. And then, of course, this last little bullet point that I put on here is developing your own workout routine. And we're going to talk more about that. Before we leave this slide, though, I do want to point out these different pictures. For those of you who don't know, this is all home gym equipment. Right? I'm going to push the home gym stuff. You know, this thing on the bottom right-hand side is a kettlebell. I'm sure many of you know what a kettlebell is. If you don't, it's a great thing to get acquainted to. This little guy will change your life. It's very applicable to lifting groceries, to lifting laundry, to moving plants, to gardening. This represents a lot of different things that we do in our life, and it's something that you can get and put in your home. Of course, we have TheraBands. This ball over here, the 6-pound ball, is a medicine ball, and then we have the dumbbell, of course. And we'll talk about that. So let's talk about the exercising on my own, right? We have all these online classes that you can be a part of. But what about just deciding that you're going to exercise on your own with no video and nobody leading you? And for many of us, that's just the craziest thought ever. Why would I do that? A, I hate working out. B, I'm not a trainer or whatever else, if that's even something that you think. But it really is something that I want you all to consider if you haven't already considered it. Again, a lot of the people on this call, I'm assuming that you do a certain amount on your own at your house, but there might be people who maybe not. And I'm talking from anywhere from starting off slow and easy with this first bullet point of walking around your home for 5 minutes of every hour you're awake. And I, you know, a lot of these things I make up on my own, and I'm so happy when I hear it presented by somebody else. And I've recently heard that one presented by somebody else, and it made me so happy. Allison, do you have a question?
How long are you saying when you say walk every hour?
Say that again.
What are you saying to walk when you say walk in every hour, like in my home? If I was doing a walk, what time are you saying?
Well, it would depend. So if I understand the question, you know, how long, when you say walk in your home, how long? It depends on you. For you, Allison, I would say you need to be walking for 30 minutes because no, that's not the.
In every hour? I thought you said.
Oh, no. No, okay. So I'll clarify that.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a person who is deconditioned, right, and they're working on their fitness or working on their health, and they are hesitant to doing a 30-minute workout, that's when I suggest, hey, here's an easy way to start adding movement into your life. And it doesn't have to be as aggressive as 5 minutes. It could be 1 minute an hour. So let's say some of you have a parent or a sibling who is struggling with their fitness. One of the biggest mistakes we make is, especially for someone who's fit, is we say, oh, just do it for 30 minutes. Well, that's like an eternity for many people. So what I'll say is if you're awake for 16 hours a day and you add 1 minute every hour of moving, you've just added 16 minutes of movement to your day, to a day that would have none. And the reality is there just are people who just don't move. They might get up to go to the bathroom. They might get up to cook food, but that's about it. And those are hard things. Now, with that, and to the mistake that I was making when I was talking to Allison, one of the rules of thumb is to be moving for half an hour of every hour you're awake. Now, who's going to do that, right? I mean, this is not an older adult thing. You got plenty of 20 and 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds who are working, and they sit all day long at their computer, right? But what's starting to happen in the workplace? They have standing desks now. So at least you can stand for 30 minutes of every hour and sit for 30 minutes of every hour. But yes, more and more you're going to hear that of you really do need to be moving for at least half the time that you're awake. Sitting for the vast majority of your day is counterproductive. And being old is a very bad excuse to do that. Being injured is a better one as long as you're working towards healing. And let's say that you can't stand for whatever reason. That's fine. There you go. There's some movement. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be walking. for it to be movement. Then you can work on developing your own workout routine. And we're going to talk about creating a workout routine and sticking to it here. So this next slide, set a routine and stick to it. And people hate me for saying this. It's okay. I'm used to it. I know. And there are folks who maybe just retired and they're like, I don't want a routine anymore. I spent however many years with a routine, or I was in routine with my children and I don't want it. The positive to a routine is you have a routine. You fit those things in that have value to you. And the exercise, of course, I would love for it to have value to each and every one of you because it increases our health, and our health is incredibly valuable. But so let's say that you are looking at, creating a routine. It doesn't have to be a crazy routine. It can be the routine of whenever I wake up, I don't care if that's 6 a.m. or 2 p.m., within the first hour after being awake, I'm going to exercise. So it can be a pretty loose routine, but at least you've put exercise into that routine. And one of the things that I heard someone say that I really thought that it made sense, and Julia, it may have been you, to put it around something that's a fixed occurrence in your day. So that you're going to eat breakfast, you're going to eat lunch, you're going to eat dinner, you take your medications at 2 p.m., that, there's certain things that happen in our day, maybe not at an exact time, but that do happen. And then you can put your exercise around those things so that you understand that I know I'm going to eat lunch, and an hour before I eat lunch, I'm going to exercise. So even if I'm not eating lunch till 1 o'clock, I'll exercise at 12. If I'm eating lunch at 11, I'll exercise at 10. But I'm going to put my exercise around lunchtime. Of course, I like to suggest that people prioritize exercise, and it's one of the first things that they do. That's a very self-centered suggestion. And for me personally, if I don't exercise when I first wake up, it becomes harder and harder and harder throughout the day for me to exercise. And these past 4 days, when we were off for Thanksgiving, my husband was home, we weren't getting up and exercising first thing. And I could just feel the dread in myself thinking, oh gosh, I got to exercise. I still have to exercise. Oh my goodness. And it was like this thing, and I like exercise. It was this thing that weighed on me. So I just get up and exercise. That way it's done. I don't have to think about it. I know that I'm going to value it. I know that I'm going to try to eat and drink a little bit healthier because I've already done it. But if that doesn't work for you, what does? What does work for you? I put on here before and after meds, and I wanted to talk about that real quick. It used to be that I would tell my clients, don't come work out with me if you've just taken some sort of pain reliever, right? Because I don't want to mask the pain. It's a little bit different when you're dealing with arthritis or a chronic pain situation, because sometimes that chronic pain keeps you from exercising. And so as long as you're safe with your exercise routine, all of a sudden it's not as bad or a ill-advised course of action to take those pain relievers and then exercise. That way you can get to the exercise routine without the pain. And again, obviously you want to make sure that what you're doing in your exercise routine is safe and you're not injuring yourself. Okay, so let's talk about just real quick, because I know all of you are like, okay, I'm going to start an exercise routine. She's convinced me. She's told me all these things. It's happening. Y'all know this. Important elements of an exercise routine. We got strength, that's resistance training, muscle, strength, anything with resistance or weightlifting, any of that's all the same thing. It's working on our muscle. And notice it's the first thing I listed. And y'all know me by now. Strength is incredibly important. It becomes even more important as we age. And it's important when we're younger, but it becomes even more important as we age. Next, we have cardiovascular, and that's anything that creates a cardiovascular response, anything that makes your heart rate increase. Strength and cardiovascular are the two foundational elements to movement. If you don't have cardiovascular strength, it's very hard to move your body. And if you don't have muscular strength, it's very hard to move your body. They are very braided and rely on one another. Then, and I meant to change this, so forgive me. I have flexibility and mobility together, which is true. Flexibility and mobility is movement around a joint, whether that mean physically moving around a joint or stretching. Both are important, and they both should be included in on an exercise routine. And then I have balance in parentheses. And what I meant to put was the balance where the power is. The balance should most likely be considered its own little element. And I would put the power in between the strength and the cardiovascular. And for many older adults, power isn't talked about. I mean, when was the last time you had a trainer or a fitness person tell you that you needed to work on your power? We usually equate power with power lifters or with athletes. And even if many of us don't consider ourselves athletes. I don't consider myself an athlete. But I need to have power, because what power is picking up a bag of whatever, soil, dog food, cat litter, I don't care what it is, that weighs 15 pounds, walking up your stairs and down your hall and setting it down. That is a combination of strength and cardiovascular, which is power, which is the body's ability to move weight, over distance and over time. So if you are thinking, well, I'm 60, why do I need to be worried about power? If you want to age in place, if you want to stay at home, if you want to maintain as much independence as you can, that's an important element. But again, I meant to put it between the strength and cardiovascular because it's relatively new. Strength, cardiovascular, flexibility, mobility, and balance. The reality is, if you're doing your strength, your cardiovascular, and your flexibility and mobility, you're probably working on your balance, right? It's probably mixed in there. Now let's talk about the general progressions of a workout. Y'all probably know this. We warm up. Notice how I have strength or power first. That's not what you usually see. Usually you see you warm up, you get into your cardio, then you cool down, then you do your strength. And I'm switching around a little bit just because I think strength and power is so important that we do that first. Then we do our cardio, and then cool down, and then flexibility, mobility. This is a very common progression of a workout. I'm not telling you this is the only way to do it, but for those of you who are thinking, okay, I would like to kind of start this, here are just some ideas of how you can incorporate the different elements of an exercise routine into your day. So even with walking, let's say that you're just interested in developing a walking routine. We have warm up, we have the cardiovascular, which is the walking, and then we have cool down, and then we have stretching. So it's still in there as well. Again, if you have questions, raise your hand, or I think I have most of you who are just take yourself off of mute, and hopefully I'll be able to see you. Okay. Next, so now I want to talk about thinking outside of the box. I think many of us are very aware of the traditional way of working out, like I talked about. You get in, you warm up, you do your step touches and your hamstring curls, and then you get into your cardiovascular movement, whether that's choreographed or whether it's interval training. Then you do a little bit of a cool down, your strength, your flexibility. And if any of you watch some of my videos on the YouTube channel, there's some different ways to do exercise. Not exercise needs to be an hour long. It doesn't even need to be 30 minutes long. Any exercise counts. So if you're telling me, look, Paige, I'll give you 10 minutes, great. You know how much I could do in 10 minutes, right? That's a long time. There's it's not really a new way of working out, but another way to work out is called every minute on the minute. And I've used this in some of my exercise videos where I choose 5 different exercises and I do a certain amount, whether I decide I'm going to do 5 modified burpees and I'm going to rest for the rest of the minute, or I'm going to do 30 seconds of modified burpees and rest for 30 seconds, or 45 seconds of modified burpees and then rest for 15 before I go into the next minute, which is going to be jumping jacks. And I'm going to do that. I'm either going to do 30 of them or 30 seconds of them or 45. Are you getting, like, it can be a certain number or it can be a certain time. So all you got to do is think of 5 exercises. If you do 5 exercises and you do 3 rounds, that's 15 minutes right there that you've gotten in. And it really is a little less tedious than the traditional progression of exercise. At least I have found it that way. Where even if you're, let's say you're doing a walking routine, for the first minute, for the first 30 seconds, I'm going to, I don't know, step side to side, step sideways. I don't know. There's all sorts of things that we can do to make it interesting. I love every minute on the minute. I'm on a big every minute on the minute kick. And I'm going to be doing a special video that will be posted on Christmas Day for you guys. And it is all every minute on the minute. Get ready. It's going to be awesome. There's also another one called as many rounds as possible. And so let's say that I'm going to work out for 10 minutes today. And these are the elements that I want in my workout. I want 5 push-ups. I want 5 squats. I want 5, think of 5 different things that you should do, and do as many of those as you can in those 15 minutes. You do your 5 push-ups, you do your 5 squats, you do your 5 tricep extensions, your 5 bicep curls, and your 5 abdominal leans. And then you go back and do 5 push-ups and 5, and see how many rounds of that can you get in those 15 minutes. So that's another way to think of an exercise routine. These are just ways to get you a little bit thinking outside the box. Not only thinking outside the box as an exercise person, but thinking outside the box as an older adult, because nobody's telling you guys, this is what you can do. They're like, okay, sit in this chair and grab this band because we don't want to hurt you. And the thing is, we don't want to hurt you. But many of you, I really have to throw you around to hurt you, right? You're pretty tough. So why am I treating you so, nicely? Even if I have somebody who does come to me who is more on the frail side, I'm still going to push them, especially if they want to do their own laundry and go to the grocery store and do those things that require these elements. All right, so now let's get into, and again, if you have questions, comments, happy to hear them, even if it's questioning this philosophy. Now I want to get into one of my favorite subjects of the holidays.
Are you muted?
Mm-mm.
I have a question out there? No. Okay, so we got one of my favorite scenes from the Elf movie when he's eating all his crap. He's got like Pop-Tarts and pasta and maple syrup and all sorts of different candies. And a lot of times in the holidays, in the winter months, we start craving comfort food. And I think that comfort is such a funny word, because even though this guy is supposedly an elf, I bet he has really bad digestive issues after eating this, right? So he might be comforted right now, but in about 45 minutes, he's not going to feel a lot of comfort digestively or maybe even emotionally. I don't know if anybody out there has experienced eating something that in the moment tasted really, really good, but an hour later you're like, man, why did I eat that? Yeah, it tasted good, but it's either not sitting well, or now I feel bad or guilty or whatever feeling that you might have. So I really want you to start to question that comfort food. Why are you craving that cookie? What is it about it? Is it the sugar? Is it truly that you're sad about something, and is eating the cookie really the better way? It might be. I'm just saying, think about it. That's all I'm saying. Think about it. And one of the things that I like to talk about with food, and the reason I'm talking about food is the foundation for exercise. Food is the foundation for our health. And in fact, if I had to redo my career, I'm not saying that I wouldn't go fitness because I love fitness, but I would probably do nutrition just as much as fitness, because you can't have one without the other. You really, I mean, you can through your 20s and 30s, but in your 40s, what you're eating really does start catching up with you. It starts to show in your skin. It starts to show in your organs, in your disease. It's really a big, big factor. And I think if you're not struggling with it now, you probably have struggled with it at some point in your life. I know that I have. And one of the things that I think is a great piece of advice, and y'all have heard this a lot, is to reduce the amount of sugar that you're taking in, for a lot of reasons. You notice I didn't say get rid of sugar. I said minimize or reduce the amount of sugar that you're taking in. And I have an example here. I love this picture. How many, and you don't have to answer this, but how many people on this call would eat this for breakfast? And if you have an aversion to bacon, switch it with the meat that you would eat, okay? I don't know, put something on there that's not offensive. But waffles and butter, and oh my gosh, they have like peanuts on there. I mean, some people might consider this healthy, because I bet you anything those are like pumpkin waffles or have whole wheat in them. And this is a classic example to me of a dessert meal. Yes, I made that up. If anybody else uses it, I made that up, that term. Dessert meal is a meal that has more sugar and calories than it does nutrients. Right? So this meal right here has actually very little nutrients, even if that is whole grain or whole wheat waffles. And don't even get me started on the whole wheat. We can talk about that, but let's for now act like that's an okay thing. We have a lot of nitrates and sodium with that bacon, most likely. With sugar, just pour it on, right, with the maple syrup. And I'm not anti-butter necessarily. Depends on if that's margarine, but the nutrients from this are actually very low. I'm not seeing a lot of protein. That's probably why they put those peanuts on there, to try to trick us into thinking there was protein. But anyway, somebody might eat this and think, okay, breakfast, when really all they've done is spike their insulin and fill themselves with a whole bunch of food that really has very low nutrient value to it. And then afterwards might think, well, I want a dessert. Well, no wonder, right? Because you just spiked your insulin. But you've just had dessert. That meal is dessert. And so starting to learn what meals are desserts, I think, is a big, helpful thing, because I see people eat, and I just don't think they really realize it. So here's my next thing. Is this a dessert meal? It's a hamburger. I mean, again, you don't have to show hands, but how many of us have eaten this for a meal? I mean, I know I have. I don't eat the soda anymore, and I don't eat this meal all that often, but I definitely have gone and eaten a hamburger with a Dr. Pepper and fries for lunch and thought, lunch, I just ate lunch. And really, I've gotten very, very few nutrients from that meal. The quality of the hamburger out is probably not great. We got very little vegetable content here, a couple of pieces of lettuce and a tomato. Obviously, the soda negates anything that's good, and so do the fries. So again, looking at what you're eating, what are you fueling your body with? And people wonder, well, I don't feel like working out. Well, you're definitely not going to feel like working out if you have this for breakfast, this for lunch, right? And then let's say you have this for dinner. This is a traditional, and I don't mean to offend anybody by that, but a traditional meal, probably for Thanksgiving. It could be for any winter holiday, I suppose. We got turkey, mashed potatoes with gravy, stuffing, and these green beans. And look, let's take the green beans away. How white is that dinner? That's like a beige dinner. Anytime you look at your plate and it's all beige, it's a red flag, all right? So although, yes, if you had those 3 meals, which is not uncommon, again, for someone to have those 3 meals throughout their day, they might, after those 3 meals, think about having dessert. And my thing to them is, you've had dessert 3 times. You've had very low protein. You've had very, very high simple carbohydrates. You've had very, very high sugar, and you've had relatively low vegetable content, right? The only, out of those 3 meals, the only real vegetables are these green beans and a tomato. And that's just not enough for a day of vegetable, not if you want to actually gain health and gain fitness. So, you know, I asked the question of how can we make this meal into a healthy one? Does anybody have want to take a stab at how we'd make this meal a little healthier?
Green salad.
Add a green salad. Yep. Anybody else? I would say, first of all, you need to take away either these potatoes or that stuffing, one or the other, at least, right? Because that's like 2 simple carbs right there. But to Allison's point, yeah, you could take away these mashed potatoes and add another green on there, and that would be a huge step in the right direction. But the main thing I want to get across here is avoid those dessert meals so that you can save desserts for dessert, right? Eat this kind of stuff in this picture, right? Those healthy animal proteins if you're not a vegetarian. Lots and lots of vegetables. Lots and lots and lots of vegetables. Minimize the sugar. In fact, if you can get your sugar from fruits, that's great. And then guess what? You have the bandwidth to add dessert into your life. I eat a lot of desserts. You know, people get very angry when they see the amount of desserts I eat. The difference is my meals are incredibly clean, meaning they're full of vegetables and protein. That's my meal. I don't want to mix my dessert with my meal. And when I work out, I have really good energy. So when I want to do it every minute on the minute, and I've decided I'm going to do 45 seconds every minute of different exercises, I have the fuel stored in my body to fuel that workout. But if you're fueling yourself with dessert meals, you're not going to feel like working out. So it's really important, especially when we get into the winter months and into those comfort food times. And here I'm going to say something that's probably going to upset people. It's okay to throw away cookies. It's okay to throw away cake. If somebody brings you a whole bunch of dessert meals or dessert items, you can throw them away. The people who are starving, that's not what they necessarily need. And the reason I say this is my husband gets very angry with me when I throw away cookies. I have to do it when he's out of the house because he thinks that it's a horrible, awful thing for somebody to do. He questions his marriage to me. He thinks I'm just a monster. But that's the best way that we can deal with not overeating on that stuff. Value your health. Surround yourself with things that are going to make you healthier, not things that aren't. And reserve the time when you're going to have those things that you know aren't necessarily good for you, and let them be just that. Don't intermingle everything together. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I spent a lot of time on that. I'm going to spend more time on nutrition, but I think it's an important thing, especially as we head into the months where comfort food is big and there's a lot of it. Lastly, don't forget to hydrate. And when I say hydrate, it's with water, right? Drink a lot of water. On the WebEx call that I had with my family over Thanksgiving, the 2 young boys who were there, one of them's 5, was drinking a thing of apple juice. And I know his parents were really excited that it wasn't soda, but it might as well have been. It's just a big old thing of sugar water, right? And then they wonder why he's so hyper. Water, 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 water. Get your water from oranges. Get your water from apples. But really focus on your hydration with water. If we are underhydrated, we feel awful. We just don't have energy. Our body doesn't function the way that it should. And it's a really important element of staying healthy. And in the holidays, of course, there's a variety of drinks. There's a variety of alcohol drinks. There's a variety of dairy-based drinks. And it's really easy to find yourself going through an entire day and not actually taking in hydration in that purest form. Celery, cucumbers, red peppers. There's a lot of great vegetables that supply us with water, and that's a great way to get it for those of you, especially who aren't really into drinking water. Lastly, invest in your health. It's worth it. Reevaluate the worth of having home exercise equipment. I feel like I struggle with people who are like, oh, I don't want to spend the money, or I don't have the room. And both of those are absolutely 100% legit, not excuses, reasons why to not have home gym equipment. But I can find you something that is not that expensive. I can find you something that doesn't take up that much room. It's worth it. You're going to spend money on your health, either proactively or reactively. It's going to happen. But home gym equipment, a little kettlebell, those things go a long way and are very useful. And if you think about how many times a day you bend over and pick something up, if it's more than once, you need a kettlebell in your life, right? It's a very, very useful equipment. And I don't represent a kettlebell company. I'm not trying to push that in that way. So your health and exercise is a way to invest in your health. Movement is a way to invest in your health. A super important way. And with that, we can open it up to questions. But before I forget, next Tuesday, already, and we are having a presentation by Lisa Schenker, who gave us the presentation on gratitude. It was just excellent, very, very good presentation. And she's doing Happy Holidays or Bah Humbug. Make the most of the holidays. I know this holiday season might be different for many people. It's not for me, so I'm not really in a different spot. But for many, especially people who are local to Utah, it is very, very different. I think she'll have some good opportunities for us to talk and learn about how we're going to enter these next few weeks of our life. Thank you guys for being here. If you have comments or questions, I would love to hear them, or ideas of how you want to do your workout or anything along those lines. Please share. And if you're going to share, you have to unmute yourself, because I can't do it anymore.
Paige, thank you for adding nutrition to your lecture today. I think everybody needs a reminder on that every now and then, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Linda. I think I'm doing one either in January or February that's all on nutrition. But yeah, it is an underlying important thing that is often overlooked.
You can take Paige. Val's got a question.
Yes.
What I always in workouts was how you combine the cognitive with the physical.
I'm having a hard time understanding Val. Either come closer to the microphone, or Debbie, can you say what she's saying?
Yeah, she's coming up.
Okay.
Just talk right at the mic is. Physical.
Say that again. What with the physical?
Cognitive. Your brain.
Yes, I got you, Val. Yes, I got it. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So Val used to go to one of the senior centers where I met her. And yeah, we would do things that would benefit your cognitive health as well as your physical health. And, you know, the bond there is you can't really undo it. You know, if we are physically active, it really does help the neural health of our brains, not only of our bodies, our physical health of our bodies. And so doing different balance exercises, doing different things like right hand out, left leg out, doing things that challenges your coordination. Those are all great ways to work on brain health while you're working on physical health. And more, they're just showing that a healthy heart, a healthy body benefits that healthy brain, right? It's one of the biggest ways that we can stave off dementia, if we're going to get it, is to stay physically active, because that helps to keep our brains healthy. So yes, thank you, Val. I did forget about that.
Well, I would just add, you know, you work this in with your routine with us. That's one thing you did that nobody.
2 or 3, so easy.
So you're just not seeing it on videos or with other folks.
No.
I have to think of that when I make another video. That's a good point. Thank you, Val. I shall remember. Now I have lots of videos to make. That's good. It's a good thing. Any other thoughts out there, or additions or questions? Anything I said that you're like, I don't know? Well,
How do you find you on YouTube?
you know, all the emails that I send to you at the very bottom has a link to the YouTube channel. So any of the emails from me or Erica or Mary Ann all have that link down there. Or you can email me and say, hey, send me the link to the YouTube channel and I'll send it to you. Or you can go on YouTube and in the search, look up Salt Lake County. And
Salt Lake County.
Yeah, Salt Lake County Aging.
Salt Lake County Aging. Okay. Thank you, Paige.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody for joining me today and listening. If yes, you're welcome, Charlotte. If you, again, have questions, you're welcome to email me. I'm putting up my email in the chat. It's basically P. Corley, my first initial last name, at saltlakecounty.org. I see many of you in classes. Ask me questions, challenge me, challenge yourself. There's lots of good stuff out there nowadays. And it's just so important for us to stay moving and stay physically active so we can keep our brains healthy. Thanks for being here, you guys.